Welcome to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
Nolan here.
And this is episode 283, a director's episode.
Big deal.
Oh.
We're excited about that. Before we bring on our guest, we have a little bit of news to talk about. One in particular is that one of our collective, the three of us, one of our favorite book series has crossed over into the world of gaming.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it.
One of the most popular fantasy series, at least for us three, the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, has crossed over into the world of Fortnite. Kelsier, one of the main characters of the series, is now a playable skin character in Fortnite. How do we feel about
This
it?
is an Onion article.
What?
Like, it sounds so fake.
It's so real.
I know it's so real. I don't know.
It's
like,
surreal.
Good for Brandon. I mean, money, I guess. Exposure, good. But I hate that it was in this manner. But if you want to reach literally everyone, put something in Fortnite.
Okay, I'm going to make a comparison that you're not gonna like, but Kenny might agree with me.
No, okay.
We'll see.
In some ways, Fortnite is the new Minecraft.
No.
In that it is mass popularity, it brings in a whole new subset of gamers who might not be the most hardcore gamers. They're not playing all the retro games or they're not doing all sorts of things, but they've got the one game that they're dedicated to and everyone is playing it. That happened with Minecraft 20 years ago or so.
No.
It wasn't 20. And it's happening with Fortnite now. So we all agree.
No, we don't.
We don't.
We
We
hate
both
that.
disagree with
We
you.
hate that.
What you're trying to say is that Fortnite's really popular,
Yes,
which I
it
won't
is.
disagree with,
It
but it's
is.
One of the
nothing like
things.
Minecraft. It's not a great comparison.
It
No
is.
one. Okay, the current Fortnite player base, very unlikely that they're like, Kelser, no way, yes. They're gonna be like, who? Why?
Right.
What?
Right. For the most part. And then they're going to watch the video that I put out on my personal book channel
It's very good. Yes,
describing who Kelsier is for him in about
I'll
5
watch-
minutes.
I watched it this morning.
Okay. But I agree. But even if 1% of them do,
I know.
then Brandon has thousands and thousands of new fans for his Mistborn series.
I'm gonna say something. Sell out.
Oh,
Sell
you
out.
stupid evil man.
I mean, that's big. If Fortnite approached NGP and was like, "We're gonna put skins of you guys in the game,"
I would say
Nolan
no.
would be like,
I'd be overruled,
Nolan,
but I would say no.
Nolan would say no. It would just be Dustin and I.
you know, do you understand how quickly I would say yes?
Well, yeah, and I would be like, no.
I would say yes. Let me talk to the guys, but you go ahead and get it all done for us. Okay, so it is a Kelsier skin. It looks good. It looks like a good, solid Kelsier. He's got hemalurgic spikes as a backpack type thing, and then he's got these
That mist
daggers.
cloak.
He's got that mist cloak for sure, and then he's
Yep.
got these daggers that are not the same daggers, I don't think, from the story, but they are reminiscent of or alluding to. So
Well, you know what's big about that? There hasn't been an animated series or anything to reference that. This is his first. I mean, there's art renditions, like official artwork, but even that to me is different. This is his first 3D model rendition, and Fortnite got to do it, and I'm like, it better be good. It looks good.
will it open the door for more Sanderson video game content?
No, I think for a lot of people, it will just go by as like a weird thing that happened. Some people will get exposure and read it, but I don't think he's going to go off and put like all the Stormlight characters in there.
He's
No.
always been totally open to dabbling, though. He's talked about selling the rights to movies. He's talked about doing
Sure.
video game versions. I think some of those things are even like have been explored to some degree on their own.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that this one was sort of a cool fortuitous thing. He's personal friends with one of the folks that works on Fortnite, and so it kind of is like a natural thing for them to do. But it's still, I don't know.
It's still Fortnite.
It's probably
I don't
because I'm
hate
old
it.
and grumpy.
It is.
But Fortnite's not my thing, and
Sure.
and that book is, and so I guess everybody can just have the kind of fun they want to have, how they want to have it. I'll be okay with it.
No.
That's how I feel strongly. It's how Kenny is trying to feel, and Nolan is not caring.
No,
but like, Juno crossovers like this are somewhat rare, so let's hold on to hope that Kelsier in Fortnite will not be bad and instead will be somewhat of a gem. Like in our retro game of the week, Jet Force Gemini. First and foremost, we've got to personally, collectively welcome Bro Jim, our newest director, to this special episode, the Slow Clap. Listen, Bro Jim, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being a key part of the NGP community, and thank you for joining us for this very special director episode today. Would you just take a moment, introduce yourself to everybody, and let us know how you originally stumbled upon the podcast?
Yeah, my name is Brojem /Chris /Randy. And I found the podcast originally. I was looking for something for Link to the Past, and I saw somebody link to your podcast in Reddit for that episode. And I went and I started listening to it, and I was like, oh, they have like 1 million episodes up here. I got to go. So I stopped listening, and I went back to the first episode. And then, yeah, I listened all the way through and finally caught you guys up like around episode 100 or something like that. And then I've been listening ever since.
Why is it always Reddit? We undervalue Reddit because so many people have been like, yeah, I was looking for something on Reddit and found you guys.
Yeah. There's not a lot of our listeners that post our content to Reddit, which, guys, come on. But I know that early on, obviously I did a good amount, but then like Bill, Antonin, Sean, there are a few people that throughout our career have helped with that. And Reddit helps, dude. Reddit, you're the one that undervalues Reddit. I think Kenny and I value it. Kenny
I don't like Reddit.
He doesn't do much. There is a joke there. I didn't want to let it pass about like you finding a link to our past, but I don't really know how to put it all together.
You found it.
It's something like that. Okay, so Brojim, you could have selected any game 15 years old or older. You chose a Nintendo 64 game called Jet Force Gemini. Why?
Well, so my original was Monster Hunter. Like I was going to do the original PS2, and I bought the actual disc, and it's still in the wrapping. But I panicked and I Googled it, and it's got really bad controls, ironically. And you
picked this one.
It's like, so I knew it was going to be a hard time for people to enter the series there. And the way that Nolan loves Monster Hunter, I didn't want everyone else to get like the first impression of Monster Hunter to be that one that's even Monster Hunter fans don't like. So then I was N64 games after that. And since Metroid Prime was already picked, then Jet Force. I didn't remember it from when I was a kid. So I honestly got to first play it kind of as an adult. So it was fun to do.
So it was a strategic move, a strategic pick.
Yeah, I mean, I had cartridges laid out. I had Rogue Squadron, I had Diddy Kong Racing, I had this game, so I had to narrow it down somehow.
Overview.
Well, for those of you who aren't familiar, Jet Force Gemini is a third-person action-adventure shooter published and developed by Rare that came out on the Nintendo 64 in the late 90s, 1999. And it features a trio of heroes that work for some kind of intergalactic sort of good guy agency.
The Alliance.
Called Jet Force Gemini, I guess. Called Jet Force. I don't know where it comes from. I think that's actually the name of the group that they work for.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And you get to play as each of these characters throughout the game. They include Juno, I guess there's not really a main character. It's sort of a cast. I'm not sure how you guys pronounce it. Vela. And and Lupus, who is the only reason to live. He's the dog character and is undoubtedly the best. And you're fighting against buggers, really. I mean, they're formics. They're insectoid ant armies that have invaded this planet and are wreaking havoc on cute little Ewok-looking creatures called tribals that you're trying to save. And together you use your characters and each of their unique traits to try and free the good guys, slay the bad guys. Pretty typical fare. And you try and do all of it on a Nintendo 64 controller.
It is rare that I have not played a rare title, especially a big name like this, because I've always heard of it.
In the late 90s. This is the same era that Rare produced GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, and Perfect Dark.
But I don't think you're the only one that didn't come across this, because, in part, of these other titles that came out during this time.
And it's such a typical Rare tone, the kind of the sarcastic dialogue, and you're standing on pads to get new powers and stuff like that. It's such 90s Rare.
Yeah, it felt like that for sure. I just don't know what we were doing. I mean, we were playing those other games, Dustin, but
I was playing it.
Oh,
That's exactly what I was doing. Yeah, I've got the cart. This one was part of my childhood.
Nice.
Okay, but you don't really play many games. You watch people play games. So did you actually play this one, or did you watch someone?
This was one that I played.
Okay. And then Brojim, you may have said this earlier, and I may have missed it. Just say it again if you did. Did you own this, or was this a rental for you? He's grabbing the cartridge right now.
Very nice.
All right.
Don't you love?
Is that your childhood? Is that your childhood cart? Okay.
It is. This I dug that out along with my brother's controller that still has his.
Oh, that was just gone away.
That was the best one.
Well, the atomic purple might have been better, but the blue was sick.
No, the green one.
Easy. The green one is only the only one worse than the green was the orange one, Kenny.
Green best, then black, then probably the clearish blue, then gray. Easy.
Okay.
Easy peasy. End of episode.
Well, yeah, and so my brother and I, we played this on multiplayer. We also played it separately, so we're trading back. Back in the day, you didn't have all the internet stuff, so you were trading circuits like, oh, you found this, and I got to go back to that level and go find it. So this was one of our games that we did that with.
Okay, and last question here, an overview. You played it as a kid. You played it this week, I'm assuming. Had you played it in that gap in between, or is this your first revisit since your childhood?
It's my first revisit. I have not played it since the 90s.
Good.
Well, I am excited. We are excited to hear how, if at all, your feelings and thoughts towards the game have changed.
Gameplay.
So for gameplay, do we want to talk about the elephant in the room and just talk about controls?
Yep. That's the first thing I have on my notes.
Okay. Well,
why not? It's the thing everybody's going to have to get over.
You're already on a Nintendo 64, and so there already is a challenge because you've got to have 3 hands to hold the controller.
But
you got to be an octopus, and that's assuming people even have controllers. So many people today don't physically have. If they're not playing on a 64 itself, you may be trying to play this on an Xbox or PlayStation style controller and remapping buttons and baby.
For reference, I think on Turok, I said, get over it when y'all were like, the controls suck. I was wrong then, I think, because this is not okay. This is not okay.
This is not.
So let me try to explain the way it works. And there are kind of 2 modes. So third person, again, this is not GoldenEye or Perfect Dark where Rare has done first person and it works. That has its own problems too, but for the most part, it's better. Third person in this case has some auto aim to it, but the strafing that's very important in shooters comes with the right joystick. You don't have it here. It's N64. We haven't advanced there. So you're strafing with the C buttons.
But you're doing that in GoldenEye too.
You are, but it works. And in third person, it just doesn't because of the camera, the way the camera works. And luckily, there's auto target, and there's also a manual mode you can hold down to shoot manually. But I never got used to it. Everyone online's like, oh, you get used to it after a while. No, you don't. It's not
used to
good.
I have to disagree. I did get used to it. I would straight up say that I'm now good with the controls now, but
I believe you.
that doesn't say that you're not right. The controls are a problem. They're very hard to get used to in the era of dual stick.
Well, first of all, don't come on our podcast and disagree with us, Bro Jim. I don't know who you think you are.
No, please only
have an opinion.
Secondly, it starts you off on expert control settings. Did you understand that? I don't know if you went into your settings, your options, and you can change your control settings to normal.
Yeah,
that's because expert is better. Like it really.
Not in my opinion.
It's supposed to be.
No, I enjoyed playing with expert setup much more.
On your first play, Kenny, you're struggling through the controls, which anyone would.
Well, sure.
And you're pressing your A and B button, which are really the only two massive buttons on the control, and nothing's happening. And you're like, well, guess I'm not using those. Or so, I don't remember what they do in the expert mode, but it's nothing normal. And when it's weapon switch, okay, weird. And so at the beginning, it doesn't do anything because you only have one weapon. And then if you change the expert controls to normal controls, A and B do the normal things. So A jumps and B crouches and then lies down.
That's
I believe.
better.
I preferred that, but Bro Jim and Kenny remain in expert mode.
Okay.
No, I stayed in expert mode the whole time, and especially when you get manual aiming and you finally get that down, and it's not good. It's an N64 stick. Like a lot of times, I just get the height right and then kind of strafe my way into the right aim and then shoot them. So yeah, it's not great, but expert mode was the way for me, 100%.
Yeah, I didn't take this step, but I got frustrated enough about it, especially when you're in that manual mode and your stick is going like all over the place and you just don't feel like you can manually refine it enough. I almost went in and like actually tweaked sensitivity settings like manually to try and compensate. But
not in game, in emulator.
Right. But that felt right. That felt inauthentic, and I figured if it was just gonna bug me, it was gonna bug me. And we destroyed bugs.
So control, and we just barely touched on the surface, but controls are unique, to say the least.
Yes.
With those controls, your goal is to travel across the galaxy and rescue every single of the 282 teddy bears or tribals across, I believe, 30 or so stages spanning 15 non-linear worlds. That is
ton of stages.
Tons of stages, tons of worlds, and tons of teddy bears.
Yeah, second of all, that's a problem. I'm fine with secrets being hidden throughout a stage, of course. Optional things. Rare is really good at this in some of their collectathon games. But you have, to beat the game, normally, not even secret ending, you have to collect all of these secret guys.
That is my understanding.
A lot of them not accessible on your first play of a stage. Remember, there are 3 characters. This is not okay. Fundamentally, I think that is a bad design choice because your progress feels a little, what's the word? Non-existent at times.
Slowed down, yeah.
Slowed down.
Yeah, I definitely agreed that. As much as I like going and visiting, the only time I used to walk through this week was just to see which character can access which tribals, so that
you do
when
it the
I
first
drop
time.
in, yeah, because you can play an entire level as Juno, and then you get to the end and there's a pool of water with a door at the bottom, and you're like, well, that's it. I guess I have to do this whole thing again.
Yeah.
And am I correct, Bro Jim, that if you don't collect one and you come back to the stage, you have to get them all over again?
Yeah,
it's not
100%.
just that one?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Why? I wonder why
all
they
one
did
shot.
that.
All right, so we've referenced, but I don't think we've talked about their specific abilities. So you do have Juno, Vila, and then Kenny's favorite, Lupus, which I thought was a disease.
It is.
But they each...
I mean, it is.
Okay. They each have a different ability. Juno can walk on lava without pain. Vila can swim underwater indefinitely, and Lupus is a dog, if we haven't clarified, that can hover for short periods
Copied
of time.
Mega Man.
And so you need, so what we're saying is you have to use a specific character on a specific level. This isn't every level, but certain levels to rescue all of the teddy bears.
Yeah.
And while I appreciate a cast that has varying skills and abilities, if you want to call them that, again, like requiring you to replay things you've already done is weird. And I know that
That's
some
rare.
of them open paths to like other stages, and it's not as linear as we're making it sound, although it's a linear game. It's not like Explore Open World, but it still didn't work for me ever. And I'm like, that should have been optional. That should have just been like oh yeah, cool, you collected all the teddies. Here's the secret ending.
The game really doesn't open up until the end. It really when you get through to all three characters go to a central level and beat the boss the first time, it opens it up. Everyone gets upgraded and new armor and all the spoilers. And then you start going back to planets, and it opens up new planets and new levels. So
yeah, it kind of works for me. I tend to be an I don't like backtracking sort of person, but it gives you the excuse to explore some of those levels with the different characters, take advantage of each of their unique traits, and adds sort of some depth. And especially with this kind of game, it's easy to have the little adventure you go on and then that's it, and there's nothing else to do. And I think they intentionally wanted this to be more robust. They added a multiplayer that was actually pretty fun and could let you couch co-op with your friends.
How does that work?
In 1999?
Yeah.
Or did you do it this week in 2021?
No, I did not play any couch co-op, though I wish I could have.
Oh, it's Goldeneye style.
Oh, so couch co-op? No, I'm sorry. The couch co-op, so you unlock a robot, Floyd. I'm hoping you guys at least got
that
Floyd.
Robot that travels along with you.
Yeah. So your second player can take control of him. He has unlimited ammo, and he gets his own little cursor and shoots things.
Okay. And it's shared screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's cool.
And then you've got split screen
deathmatch as well. Yeah.
That's Goldeneye style. Yeah.
And so when it comes to saving and rescuing these titties, I think that it is a thing where I'm fine with that being in the game, but I just think it would have been better if like there's a separate ending, a better ending for collecting all of them.
Yeah.
And if you collect less than that, you still can beat the game. You can still beat the game, but that's what I've seen done well in other games, that it's still collectathon. That's what this game is, because you're collecting weapons, you're collecting the weapon upgrades, are you collecting abilities? I don't think you are. But there are a few different things to collect, but the main thing is saving those tribals. But if you could have done save less and still beat the game, I think that changes that entirely.
Yes.
I will say that revisiting the levels, they did try, and especially if you have like a walkthrough telling you this character is the one to go back to this level with, you don't spend a lot of time revisiting. Some planets you just have to replay the whole thing, but some of them you go straight into a secret level or a secret new area.
Yeah.
And some of the areas are very, very clever. And I don't want to spoil a bunch, but there are really cool things that you can find going through these new levels that you've never seen.
Like, what's your favorite?
Well, my favorite is like a huge spoiler. All right. So my favorite is there is an area where you can find a pad that will transform you into an ant drone, and you can go visit a club that all the ants are at.
Oh my
gosh. It's a disco club. It's amazing.
Wow. That's rare to the core. That's
like 100% them.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And something else when I think of rare is level design. Like usually it's like a master class in just how they lay out the level, how you explore. And actually here, I think that totally shines. I love the variety there. And the way that they went about like entering a new room, and then it was like go mode, like almost arcade style shooting things. Loved that. And I think the level design for the most part was a very smart choice. Like, and again, how many stages? 30?
A lot.
So many.
Yeah, 30 something stages.
Come on,
but
that's crazy.
I felt that the stages were massive, man. Like, some of them just take a long time to get through. There's tons of doors. There's some like large segments that don't even have enemies or collectibles in it. So it's just for aesthetics and realism that you're running through a big tube on a spaceship to get to a new area. Like, these areas are not tiny. And so if you don't have a map, or if you haven't played it multiple times, it is very easy to get lost.
It's also very different playing games today, and especially in our whole like play it for a week format. I remember this when I was playing it as a kid, playing it more like I would an RPG, where you think about sitting down and you play a level or two, or you go find one item and then you like save and turn it off and come back to the game later. And I think that like breadth is what they were going for, whether we think of it as that kind of game or not, because lots to explore. And you're right, big worlds.
Yeah, and I just want to really call attention to what Nolan said. I love the level design. Like the SS Anubis, which is the second one, you can actually walk in and look up and you'll see a tube that is actually a secret area you can't access yet, but goes to a secret level. And it's so cool. There's all kinds of things where you'll look and there's an access, or you'll look and there's a little panel of something down there and you'll shoot it and it blows up. What does that do? Oh, it opens prisons later in the level. And I just love the level design.
That is rare. That's rare. That's
100%.
That's Dark Souls.
It's attention to detail.
It is, and even incentivizing doing that, because they hide a lot of the game features in unlockables. So my understanding, if I recall, is you sit down, you're not allowed to play at least one of the multiplayer modes, maybe multiplayer at all, I'm not sure, until you like find one of those little bonus content unlocked totems and a number of things that they sort of hide behind that stuff, which again just sort of incentivizes it. Really smart. A lot of really smart decisions, including the fact that I think they knew how difficult this game was, because we talk about these controls and how impossible they are. You're also given tons of Geminis, tons of life gems to sort of restock you, plenty of ammo at all the important parts of the game, so that for key fights, you're there and it respawns. And as your life meter goes up, because of the smart way they did that, where you get sort of a whole meter, but then like a set of whole meters, each tick that you get of new sort of space in that represents a pretty significant jump in the amount of damage you can take. Not just one little extra hit. It's not a half a Zelda heart. And so even if you're terrible at the game, like this guy, and even if the controls are tough, you can still sort of just like slowly and carefully power your way through it, and it feel mostly okay.
Y'all thought it was difficult?
I think it's difficult, and I consider myself fairly good at it.
I felt it was difficult not because of the game difficulty, but because of the controller difficulty. I could not manually aim for the entire week. Like,
and you have to learn that to get good.
I understand that, yes, eventually your body can get used to whatever torture that you put it through. But but manually aiming in this game is not an easy task. It is very loose, and you have to do it, especially with the flying drones that are coming by at all times. And like we've mentioned, you have to get every enemy on a level before your door opens to go to the next area.
Okay, I have to disagree with you on one thing. I know people hate the flyers. I do. The flyers, you got to embrace the machine gun. That was what it was built for. You just spray it in the general direction, and usually one or two bullets strike them, they're done. Like, you got to embrace the machine gun, spray and pray.
You just want me to hold R and then go like on the little toggle?
Okay, you almost can, honestly, because it's just that the machine gun's that good of a gun.
What about the rocket launcher?
That's the best, because you can just aim and shoot and pray and kill things. Oh no, but then you're going to do the worst thing ever and accidentally kill the titty bears. You want like you can instantly murder them on a stage at the end when you pass a stage. It shows you how many you've left behind, how many you saved, and how many you killed.
Right. Why did we skipped over that? That's even more of an offense than having to get them all, is that you can accidentally kill them.
And the enemies can too. They can throw grenades and blow up at one of them.
I'm okay with it.
there's places where they specifically set you up to kill tribals. Like there's traps around them.
Okay.
Or there'll be enemies above them, and if you kill them, they'll drop down and kill them.
Oh,
So
not okay.
yeah,
That's not okay.
yeah. Sorry.
I think it's clever. They did so many clever things like that in making you do it right and discovering what the level was about and discovering which character to use and exploring thoroughly. And I absolutely love that choice.
I'm okay with it, but there were days where I was like, a tribal that pops up, the tribal's dead, and you're like, I'm done with this game. Boom, like switch off now.
Just turn it off.
All right, let me ask you, Bro Jim. Have you beaten this game before? Have you rescued all 282 tribals and beaten the game?
I did beat it when I was a kid. I do remember building the spaceship and all that. I didn't get there this week. I got close. I think I have a couple more planets. But yeah, it's a fairly long game. Not crazy long, but it's 20-ish hours.
Yeah, that's long for
Wow.
an N64 shooter.
Yeah.
That's really long. I mean, I'm okay with that part. I like content. I like games worth their money, and these games were expensive back then.
But again, like if you don't have a walkthrough, like this was the era of the Prima strategy guide. And
yes.
I know I had one for this game. I don't know where it is.
So cool. I love strategy guides.
If you don't know, like, oh, I'm going to this level. Oh yeah, Lupus needs to be this. He's the only one who gets all the tribals. Okay, then yeah, you're going to be adding hours to this game because you do a whole level clear and you can't get 2 tribals that are up on a platform, and it sucks.
Aged.
The first thing that you come across in this video game are graphics and controls. And both, I think, set you up to fail. I don't... to start with, before you get into the gameplay, before you get to listen to some of the music, before you get to explore the massive stages, you are presented with a game that is abnormal, and you're presented with graphics that don't look the best.
Well,
yeah,
I'm an N64 fanboy, so don't ask me. Ask someone else.
Yeah, I think it looks exactly like it needs to for console it's on and the time. Yes, there's something dated and uniquely 64 feeling about that era, but not problematically so. This game isn't like ugly.
I also think that it's not as offensive on the polygon front like we always talk about with N64. Some of this game looks kind of like smoothed and rounded out. Like I know that sounds weird, but I don't think it's that offensive actually.
I was getting some serious like Ocarina of Time vibes from these graphics, and maybe that's just because it's the most recent 64 game I've played, but I love the look of this game, especially the levels. I think they really did a good job in differentiating and making a lot of different designs with the graphical limitations.
What do you think about that, Nolan?
Huh?
No, what do you think about Bro Jim saying it's as good as Ocarina of Time?
Oh, that's fine.
I did not.
No, that's what I heard.
I'll give it to you, Dustin, that some of the like walls, like in the forest in particular, like the pre-rendered, like just still images for the backgrounds are just like smudges, like just green.
Yeah.
But, I think overall the stage looks pretty good. The controls, like in partnership with the graphics, there's a huge disconnect, and I think that's a problem still when we're talking about age. But
my biggest issue with graphical choices isn't the graphics themselves so much as how close they put the camera to you. Your field of vision is fairly tight.
Don't play Mass
and
Effect.
You can't see much right around your character either. And now the camera handles it well. If you go through a wall or something, it just goes transparent, still lets you see. Like those things, they handled as well as they could for the setup of this game. But I just found there were times that like I needed to see here or here or here, and I'm running in circles and trying to use manual aiming to like fix my camera. And I just wish it had been a little wider view.
I just think the camera in general was rough. I think that you don't have control of it. The only way to move it manually is to aim, and it doesn't naturally follow the direction of your character. You can turn around and run towards the camera, and it's not going to turn around to show you what the direction your character is facing. And that makes it incredibly difficult when you're surrounded in a 3D environment by ants that are blasting your head off.
Do you guys do lots of just running in circles and shooting and hoping this week?
Yeah.
Because I did.
Yeah, of course.
No, I'm pro.
Okay.
Oh, Brojam's too skilled. Okay.
I have to admit, like, yeah, the control thing is a problem. There's times where you have to rely on the proper weapon for the proper job. That's why I used machine guns for the flyers, because I can't aim well enough to, like, bullseye them.
Mm-hmm.
I use the pistol a lot because the auto aim on the pistol is really heavy. Like, you can pop heads off with that thing just running regular without manual aiming. So yeah, the controls unfortunately are a barrier to entry, and you got to find ways around it.
So my choice of using the sniper every time there were hordes of flying enemies was
You
a bad
did
one.
not.
You didn't. I
mean,
hope
if you
didn't.
did, it probably would
He
have been
didn't, but
hilarious.
he would.
I wish I did. I'm going to go back and do that now, just on principle.
Okay, Dustin,
No,
I'll
when
tell you
you're
about
at
the
a machine
soundtrack,
gun.
though.
Yep.
Yes.
It's really good. Again, I don't know if it's something that I'd listen to. There's a few tracks that I would put on a playlist, probably.
One of them
like
is on
that,
the N64 one.
That Anubis track for that stage is so good. Like it so thematically fits, but also it's just high quality and gives you that energy of like kind of the pumped up moving forward. It gives you the soundtrack that you want to go be, mowing down alien insects.
Yeah, I almost think, and I've never said this about a game, I almost think the soundtrack is too quality for the game that it's in, because like we said, it's got that rare tone to it, which at times is humorous and clever and silly, but the soundtrack is like beautiful and very, very, very good. Very atmospheric, like where it needs to be, epic where it needs to be. And I think this is one of the soundtracks on the N64 that people are like, oh my gosh, it's one of the best ones. And I see why, but I just think it might be too good.
Are we doing favorite songs? So I'm really wondering which one is on the N64 playlist you're talking about.
You're telling us your favorite song for sure.
It's one of the only relaxing ones on in the game. I don't know.
I'll pull it up while you tell us your favorite.
Yeah.
It might be my favorite. So it's one that's played in Rith Essa Mine, which is a bonus level you probably didn't make it to. I guarantee you. There's no enemies in it. It's got the like Mass Effect vibes with this atmospheric piano and harp. It almost feels like an underwater level, and then it kicks into this like hero overcomes more horn thing that sounds like something out of Final Fantasy VII. It's great. It's a great track.
The track that made it into the list is called Jet Force Gemini is the game, and the track is called Soothing Rhythms. So I don't know what stage that's on.
Yeah,
but it sounds relaxing.
Yeah.
Well named.
I already mentioned that I don't know what the track is called, but the one that's on the Anubis stage, which I think is the second planet I believe that you're on, was the standout for me.
Yeah, I've got no complaints. I'm just turning the volume up the whole time, and wishing that I could have turned the sound effects down a little bit. Some of the characters, as they like jump and hit things and pick stuff up, was a little annoying and repetitious. But the music itself, right on.
It is available on the Rare Replay, the 2015 Rare Replay for Xbox One.
That I did not know existed, but that's sick.
Control scheme,
Yeah.
you got dual analog, you got better aiming, and the graphics have been updated, the fidelity a little bit, which is helpful.
I want to play that.
And it is $13 used, not the Rare Replay, the actual cartridge that Brojam has beside him. You could sell that cartridge for $13, bud.
Oof.
Or you could put it in its box, say that it's new, never been opened, and you could sell it for $113.
Cheap game. That's a
relatively cheap game.
Yeah.
That's against the law.
Well,
we do that around here.
It's called fraud.
Well, welcome to the club.
Final thoughts.
At the end of this episode, we would like to give you our finalized, summarized thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week, Jet Force Gemini. I'll start. Kenny, you'll be next, and then Nolan. Brojam will give you the final word on the matter. Jet Force Gemini, as I've already communicated in this episode, I think is a pretty steep hill to climb for people that either aren't already adept with N64 or the game itself. It's it's got some good things. It's got the rare polish, the rare charm, the rare attention to detail that rare games, especially in the mid to late 90s, had. But there's a reason why it's not as popular, in my opinion, as some of these other rare titles, and it's kind of what we've mentioned before. So I would say that this is a game, like, if you are a Nintendo 64 fanboy, fangirl, and want to clear the Nintendo 64 titles, this is one that you should hurriedly come back to, and you're probably going to find some enjoyment in it once you get used to the control scheme. But that is going to take multiple hours for you to get used to. I really do. I'm not trying to oversell that. I really do think it's going to take you hours for you to start feeling familiar with the control scheme. Once you do, you've got a lot of content there available for you. So for me, it's not my I don't love shooter games in general. Third-person shooter games are tough, and then third-person shooter games with this control scheme on the Nintendo 64 kind of just puts too many barriers for entry there for me to fully enjoy or fully recommend. But I do think that there are going to be a lot of people that do find this one enjoyable. Kenny?
Yeah, and I'm generally in that group. I like pretty much everything about this game outside of the control scheme, and I don't want to belabor that fact or make it not as big as it is, because it is a huge reality. But I think this is an absolutely excellent title that just people need to know what they're getting into if they decide to go play it. Maybe that means somebody picks up the rare replay version instead of the N64 version. Maybe that means somebody out there is listening to our show and decides this game is worth like an actual remaster, like a modern remake, because that would be the ultimate answer. Like, this game is just bait for that. Everything is so good about it. If you put HD on it, tightened up those controls, worked on the UI just a little bit, it would be the perfect game. I'm not going to say whether or not it's worth playing, but I will say it's a really, really, really good game if you can get over the really, really big hurdle.
I have always heard people like praise this game to the moon and back. Like, oh, Force Gemini is best on the console and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, this game must be really unique, very good. And I think I'm with Dustin on this, like pretty heavily, where if you love the console and you want to get through the catalog, you're gonna love this game. It's got bad controls, and I really hate that. If it had good controls, this game would be so incredible. I also really love the amount of content that's in this game. Like, this game's so much longer than it could have been, and I don't think it's a negative thing that it's long. I think more content like this is great, and the fact that you can try different characters is great. So I enjoyed this game. I don't know if it's as good as people swear that it is, and it's rare, but I think that it's such a great title to have on the N64, because it just, like, for me, it just brought me straight back, like, to, you know, sitting in my living room with the N64. So yeah, it's a fun game. It's cool.
I think you're 100% right. People who say this is the best on the console, they're just 100% wrong, in my opinion. And I love this game. But I feel like this game is one of those things you do need to play on the console. It's such a unique 64 title. It's quality. If you can get over the controls, if you can just push through that, you're going to find something. This is a unique game that, you know, a lot of RPGs have this problem where you have to, they say, oh, you play 10 hours and then it'll get good. This game, like, I feel starts kind of fun. And then as you go and go and go, it opens up and you're like, okay, wait, we just got new armor. We didn't even talk about Lupus's second set of armor, which is the best thing in the game. It turns him into a tank, spoilers. And so I just feel like this game, if you give it a chance, it's going to pay off. Every hour you spend with it, it just gives you more. You're getting, you know, new weapons. There's way too many weapons in this game, but you're blowing up bugs and these splatters of gore with a rocket launcher that fires 3 rockets at once. I mean, that's amazing. I feel like this game, if you will explore it, and it's going to reward you. It's one of those games that rewards you for exploring it and going deeper into it. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. So definitely a hard new game plus for me if you can get past those controls.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us, because Nolan and I, this is our first experience with it this week, and Kenny got to come back to a game, one of the few games that Kenny played as a child.
I'm really glad I got to experience it,
Yeah. Anytime Nolan gets to go back to the Nintendo 64, it's a treat for him, for sure. So we didn't have any votes come in on YouTube this week because one of you guys forgot to put up the poll on YouTube.
Me?
Yeah, my bad.
That's not my job.
But we did have many people write in, as we always do. Won't be able to include all of those thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week, but thank you to those of you that did send in your commentary. John J 3000 said, I never finished Jet Force Gemini back in 1999 when I bought it with my birthday money shortly after release. Almost 22 years later, and I finally rolled credits. I played the Xbox One version, which I highly recommend over the 64 version. That being said, the game still has problems, but also tons of charm, heart, and fun to be had. I hope Microsoft will resurrect this franchise and make a Jet Force sequel that lives up to its potential. Until then, the game holds a special place in my heart, and I enjoyed its flaws and all.
I would usually recommend the newer version of something, but there's something so nasty to me about playing an N64 game on it. Xbox.
Get
out of here. I'm not doing that.
It's probably worth it.
Probably.
And Rare's dead. Somebody killed Rare. I don't know who, but I don't know.
Yeah. It sucks.
That somebody's got to have that IP somewhere. Somebody's got the rights, and they should definitely do. I think the sequel suggestion is even better than just a remake. Just because it has so much potential, and they could do even more of that same kind of stuff.
So much potential, man. Yeah. Logan wrote in and said, this game is responsible for some of my fondest gaming memories. Before the release of Halo, the multiplayer deathmatch mode of Jet Force Gemini was a mainstay of late-night gaming sessions. To this day, the memorable characters, excellent graphics, and music stick with me. The single-player campaign of this game has great encounter design and AI that will keep you on your toes while you enjoy fun Metroid-ish level exploration. All that said, I could not stomach the terrible controls this week and would never recommend this to a modern gamer. That was a twist.
That was a turn.
And I don't just mean the aiming. The turn radius, movement, and spongy jump all feel miserable. I would buy a remake of this in a heartbeat, but as it is, this game is better left to memory than replayed today.
I'm wondering if we missed something here. Maybe the multiplayer was a huge draw to it, and that's why people loved it so much. I hadn't thought about that.
I played the multiplayer and had a great time with it.
I can see that being good.
The only thing about the multiplayer is unlocking. You have to find all the totems to find the certain things. You have to get expert, which is like platinum medal on all the Floyd missions, which if you guys probably didn't do Floyd missions, and they are a beast to do, even gold. So it would be hard these days to unlock all that content for multiplayer.
Why did they do that?
So much content in this game.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, but it literally was one of those games that wasn't just like play for a week for me. It was like spend the whole summer trying to find all the stuff and get it, fully unlocked.
Yeah, and you can unlock literally this character that's twice as strong and twice as good as every other multiplayer character. So it's, just unbalanced because...
Yep, odd job, exactly. So Benny wrote in and said, JFG was one of my N64 favorites, and since it does not get the same love as other big N64 titles, I hold it especially dear. However, I never returned to it after playing it in 1999 and always wondered if it held up today. Maybe I was afraid my nostalgic image would be shattered. A few days ago, I finally gave it a go, not yet knowing it would be this week's NGP game. My time with the game in 2021 was utterly fantastic. First of all, the controls were already an issue in 1999. Yes, it can feel a bit clunky, and I feel like they worked around most of the problems, and therefore were able to create a game that goes above and beyond of what the N64 was capable of. To me, JFG is not a shooter first and foremost, but a game of exploration, and in a way, a Metroidvania. Which, by the way, this is Dustin talking now. I wasn't talking before. I'm the one to typically call games Metroidvanias when they're not. This isn't a Metroidvania. This is just an arcade battle room where you have to kill everything before moving forward.
Such a stretch.
There's a few little places where like you can't get to a hidden thing until you get a certain gun, and you got to go revisit something with a different character that allows you to get there. But it isn't really, I don't think.
I challenged the community that I would say Metrovania before you did, but I lost. But this isn't a Metrovania. Just because you backtrack somewhere or some character has an unlockable ability is not a Metrovania. You're not unlocking abilities. You just aren't.
Yeah. He continues, Benny says, it did what Ratchet and Clank did one generation early and much better. Woo!
No.
I love how
even I disagree, and I love that.
Ratchet and Clank did it so well.
I see the connection, but no.
Yeah. I definitely see the connection in massive ways. I love how it weaves so many great ideas into a cohesive, well-paced adventure of enormous proportions. To me, this game did not age at all. I really hope you guys can look past the initial frustration and discover the game as the gem it is.
Gems. Do, but it's not. It has
aged, though.
Yeah.
It's aged. I agree with the sentiment of Ratchet and Clank. I can see the progression of like, okay, this third person guns and platforming, and then Ratchet and Clank. But Ratchet and Clank is a class of its own. That thing is a unique and amazing game. And I would not even the love for Force Gemini is going to nostalgia goggle me into saying, oh, yeah, this is the Ratchet and Clank and better now.
Well, and the connection of 1,000 weapons, that you can collect and use over time.
Many weapons. You guys, I guarantee you did not unlock half of the weapons. I had like 25 by the end. Like, you don't have shurikens, the shocker, like these things that you get way later in the game, and you're like, why do I have these weapons? Now I can't find my machine gun.
Yeah, like to scroll down to the gun that you need in the time of battle. That's tough.
There's like 4 different explosives. Like there's remote bombs, proximity bombs, grenades. Ooh, there's too many weapons in this game.
Finally, the BFG said, Force Gemini was a favorite of mine growing up, so I was excited to revisit it this week. It took time to reacquaint myself with the controls, but once I settled in, I had a blast exploring planets and using the varied arsenal to turn giant ants into goo. The quirky NPCs are entertaining, the enemy AI is ahead of its time, and the music is fantastic. Unfortunately, the game is not without its flaws. The finicky controls and camera make the platforming difficult, and the cutscenes are too long and unskippable. The tail end of the game tasks you with rescuing a whopping 282 locals before facing the final boss. Some almost impossible to locate without using a guide. I understand why Force Gemini is often overlooked when compared to classics of its day, but it had a lot to offer. I had so much fun playing this week, just as I did many years ago. Give it a fair shake. If it doesn't click with you, play Perfect Dark or Banjo-Kazooie instead.
Play Banjo-Kazooie, don't play Perfect Dark.
Well, Perfect Dark's pretty sick. It's just different. I think that Rare just got experimental with this game and it didn't quite work the way they wanted to.
Oh, I think they got experimental with this game and it did quite work.
Well, maybe it did. Maybe it did. It's just weird.
Those cutscenes are long, especially when you're going from planet to planet, and it's just so slow of a spaceship landing and you deboarding. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Kenny, is that you doing? Okay. That was nice.
Yeah.
Nice sound effects. So thank you so much again, Brojim, for showing Force Gemini to us and our community this week. For now, we're going to set aside Force Gemini and we're going to randomly select the next retro game of the week. It's our retro master list. If any game could be selected that's not Force Gemini and that we haven't played, what would you hope that it would be?
Oh my gosh, I meant to actually have this answer prepared.
That's a lot of games, dude.
There are so many. Honestly, we played Metroid Prime, we've played Ocarina of Time, and those are the 2 games that I wanted to play with you guys. And Twilight Princess is not eligible yet. Plus, we've played a ton of Legends. So honestly, I can't give you Sonic 3. Sonic 3. If we could play Sonic 3, it's my ultimate favorite game. Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It has to be together so you get the whole progression and the story. That would be the game. Oh, that's the bee's knees.
Okay. Well, let's see if the randomizer gods will smile in your favor, and out of the almost 2,000 games, we'll pick the one that you selected. Randomizing now.
That doesn't sound too good.
We're going to be playing a 1986 arcade game by Bally Midway.
Midway.
All right.
Yeah, Midway Games is what it either became or was purchased by. It was, again, originally for the arcade, ported to virtually everything at the time. Master System, NES, the ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, Amiga, etc. It was inspired by monster films that were popular during the time. You can either play as a gigantic monster named George, or a gigantic monster named Lizzie, or one named Ralph. Climb up buildings and destroy them. We are going to be playing the game called Rampage.
Oh my gosh, that's hype.
I played the N64 Rampage.
Me too.
I loved that.
N64.
Yeah.
That was that one of the sequels?
Yeah, it was like a later one in the.
Because there were 5 sequels to this game.
Yeah.
And a film adaptation just a few years ago. We've got to watch it.
Yeah, well, that's all we have to do. Let's just watch the movie, skip the game.
Okay. So this was an arcade favorite of mine.
Oh,
really?
It will be interesting to see how it holds up.
Oh.
Yeah,
So,
with only the N64 to go off of, I don't have a lot of high hopes for it.
So
I love the N64. I just don't see going back to the original.
Is the plan to try and play arcade this week? NES? Do we have a preferred version since it got ported to so many things?
the arcade version for sure. The NES was a couple years later. We can check if NES is equitable. If NES is the same game, just on home console, I'd say that's fine. But it's for sure not going to have as good of graphics because it's NES. I think we shoot for arcade for sure. Okay. So everybody that's listening to this right now, find a stand-up arcade cabinet of Rampage and play this game along with us this week.
You'll want to join us in Discord. Last week, we got flamed for the episode, which was great. I loved reading it. So if you have thoughts on Jet Force Gemini and you're mad at us or happy with us, come let us know in Discord. ngppodcast.com. Then you can click join us in Discord.
We want to say thanks to all of our wonderful supporters who go above and beyond, and hit us up on patreon.com. to help us continue making weekly retro gaming content for your ears. Especially our producer level supporters, Marley and Austin, Ben, Bethany Fox, Carrie, Dan the Man, Francesca, Corey, Maxima, Nowell, Secret Duck of Evermore, Shauna, Thomas, Unbedavable, Wardonis, William, and Zion. The list is getting long. It's quite a mouthful. Thanks so much to our wonderful director level supporters, Antonin Garlisle, and of course, most importantly this week, Bro Jim. We're so thankful. And Bro Jim, for real, thanks for not only supporting us on Patreon, but being an awesome member of our community, playing games, sharing in Discord, hanging out when we do game nights and stuff. It's so fun to have that kind of community, and we're thankful for it and for you joining us today. It was great kind of knowing somebody already when they hop on these episodes and it's sort of an unknown face. We're always takes a little while, but you're just our family. People. And so, thanks so much.
Literally family. I mean,
and I was going to say you're part of a fairly elite group, but
it's still elite.
It is still elite, but it's less elite this week than it was last week because the pool of director level supporters has grown yet again. There are not just 3, there are now 4. Jordan, thank you for hopping on as a director level supporter as well. Look forward to sharing a game with you. Can't wait.
Thank you.
I did notice, just so y'all know, it's Anton and Brojim, Garlisle, and Jordan. So that's ABGJ. We need a C, D, E, F, and an H and an I by next week. So if we could just get 6 more people to support us at a director level so we can be alphabetical, I appreciate it. I love you guys. Bye. Social media, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, leave a kind rating and review. This episode was edited and produced by our good friend Tom Tate. Brojim, do you want them to find you online? And if so, where would they find you at?
No, join the Discord and you can find me there.
Aww.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Join us next week as we play the arcade classic Rampage. Until then, I'm still Vila.
I'm Kenny.
I'm Nolan.
I'm Lucas Dog Tank.
Yeah. Kenny, why weren't you the dog?
I don't know. I knew Bro Jim wanted it.
Oh, I'm Jordan.
Okay. Thank you,
Jordy.
Brogan, for joining us for this very special episode. And this has been New Game Plus.